29 years ago, the first Elder Scrolls game, Arena, was released to critical fanfare. Arena was, alongside the likes of Baldur's Gate and Ultima, foundational to the role-playing genre as we know it today. Yet in spite of its immense importance to the genre, the majority of RPG fans are unaware of Arena's existence. Even most Elder Scrolls fans don't know about the game, and if they do, they barely know what the game's even about. Ashamedly, even I knew little about the game until recently, despite the fact that I've made quite a lot of videos about the lore of the Elder Scrolls. So last week I resolved to finally play for myself the first Elder Scrolls game, but my escapade into the Elder Scrolls distant past didn't last long. The Elder Scrolls Arena was visionary for its time, its scale was unheard of, and even today the sheer size of Arena is actually quite impressive. Discounting the Elder Scrolls Online, every Elder Scrolls game takes place in a single province, but not Arena. Arena's map encompasses every inch of every province of the continent of Tamriel. You might rightfully wonder how Bethesda created such a colossal map all the way back in 1994, and the answer is procedural generation. If you thought Starfield was the first Bethesda RPG to incorporate procedural generation, then you were wrong. You see, Arena's towns, cities, and countryside are almost all procedurally generated, apart from select locations that are handcrafted. Besides its scale and use of procedural generation, many other aspects of Arena were technically groundbreaking. For instance, the game was the first RPG to have a realistic day-night cycle linked to NPC behaviour, and this is a feature that is now standard in all role-playing games. Whilst I acknowledge the immense achievement that Arena was when it was released in the early 1990s, I have to say that playing the game in 2023 is painful. It's unfair to judge old games by modern standards. I know that, and that's not what I intend to do. Arena is indisputably not only a great game, but an important one. But it is a game that is now, for modern RPG fans, nigh unplayable. To give you an indication of how difficult Arena is to play in the present day, it took me just under 2 hours to escape the game's starter dungeon, the dungeon that you would expect to be the easiest. So let me explain why Arena is such a difficult game to play for the gamers of the modern day. Perhaps the first thing to mention is that you can't lower Arena's difficulty. It's set at one level, and it's a formidable difficulty level. Part of the reason that it took me so long to get out of the starter dungeon was that I kept dying to rats and goblins that seemed to be able to kill me in 3 hits. Besides the difficulty, Arena is intimidating because you're basically left to figure things out on your own. In terms of quests, you're told where to go roughly, but it's up to you to figure out how to get there. And trust me, it's difficult to find locations in Arena. Houses, caves, taverns, even NPCs, they all look the same, more or less. The only help you can get is from NPCs who, if you ask them, can sometimes tell you if what you're looking for is roughly to the north, east, south, or west. Some players might love Arena's no hand-holding approach, but I would say that modern players are too accustomed to journals and map markers to really enjoy the first Elder Scrolls game. You need to remember, Arena was not made for a mass market, but the small, hardcore fanbase who played RPG games back in 1994, and the game reflects those hardcore tastes. Part of the reason that RPGs are easier to play now is that they've been casualized to appeal to the casual player. Developers have arguably gone too far in this regard. Personally speaking, I believe Morrowind is a good middle ground between, let's say, Skyrim and Arena. Arena isn't only difficult to play today because of its in-game difficulty. In fact, this is probably the smallest reason why I found playing Arena a painful experience. Arena has the most poorly mapped controls of any game I've ever played. You can only play the game using a keyboard, and you might think, okay, well that's absolutely fine, but the thing is that Arena came out before the commonplace use of WASD or the spacebar in video games. This means that you have to use the arrow keys to move around and J to jump. Movement itself is incredibly clunky and insensitive to the point it's difficult to even pick things up or interact with doors. And the controls generally make combat very difficult. I kept incessantly dying in the opening dungeon because I struggled to land my attacks. In Arena, to attack, you drag and you click your mouse downwards or sideways depending on the stroke you want, but trying to do that whilst positioning with the clunky arrow keys is really impossible, especially when you accidentally misclick and open the menu. You see, rather Rather than the menu being tied to a key, your map, journal and inventory are all accessed through a large bar that's permanently at the bottom of your screen and very easy to click onto by accident. I struggled with Arena's combat too because the sound design is so basic. I'd never really realised before playing Arena, but sound is actually really important to combat. When I was playing Arena, I could never hear when an enemy had snuck up on me from behind, and annoyingly there's no noise to tell you that you're taking damage. I was really bemused the first few times I died. I didn't realise that I was being killed by rats that I couldn't see, nibbling my shins. Once you eventually make it out of Arena's beginning dungeon and into the colossal world, one thing strikes you. It all basically looks the same. Again, Arena can't help this because of its time. In fact, Arena was lauded universally at its launch for just quite how sophisticated its graphics were. However, I think modern players will struggle to enjoy playing a game that looks like Minecraft if you bought it on wish.com. The main quest will also be a disappointment to the modern player. Initially, it does seem promising. The Emperor, Uriel Septim, has been betrayed by his Imperial battle mage Yeager Tharn and locked in a plane of oblivion. Tharn has used his magic to take on the appearance of the Emperor and now rules in his place. As a minor noble, you've been cast in prison by Tharn, although you don't know that he's Tharn. However, Tharn's mage apprentice, who witnessed Tharn's crimes, communicates with you in a vision all that has transpired and tells you that you need to find the 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos, the staff that Tharn used to cast the Emperor into oblivion, and reassemble it in order to bring the Emperor back. Thus begins your journey in Arena. However, the main quest really is just fetching the 8 pieces of the staff from different dungeons. There are no major twists or turns in the quest, no deep and interesting characters, no moral message. The main quest is essentially just an excuse for you to raid 8 different dungeons. Side missions in Arena are equally dull. You'll be asked variously to deliver items, rescue people, escort people, etc. All of them are fetch quests, essentially. The story, characters and side missions that players today would expect from any half-decent RPG are all missing from the first Elder Scrolls game. Although there is one thing I really liked about Arena's side quests that I think should be a thing in RPG games today, and that's time. Almost all the side quests in Arena have to be done by a certain deadline, creating a time pressure that makes the game feel weirdly realistic. To sum up this video in one sentence, Arena is a great game, but it's impossible to enjoy now because it was made at a time when expectations of games were far lower. I think that players today will struggle to enjoy Arena at all. But if this video hasn't put you off and you still want to give Arena a try, then please go ahead and let me know in the comments below your thoughts. For anyone who wants to try, Arena is free on the Steam store and it'll only take you a few seconds to download because the file size is so small. Thanks for watching this video. I'll be uploading a lot more over the summer because I'm now free from university, so please do leave suggestions for future videos in the comment section below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.